with us on the screen because you should see us.
Did my Twitter just get hacked? Wait, what just happened?
Oh
Yeah,
no,
I think my
Twitter.
Twitter did get hacked.
No,
I
maybe
think
it's
so.
Elon's Musk changes, you know.
No, there's like
I
a
think so.
different profile picture, and my name is 𝗙𝗶_Binance.
No.
What the
What?
fuck?
Really?
I'm confused. Let me quickly
Let
change my
me
password.
look for you.
I think you're right.
Isn't that
Oh
weird?
yes,
Like
CC
what?
Binance. What the fuck? Yeah, I thought you were kidding that maybe it was just like Elon's
No,
mom.
I'm serious. Like I'm very confused now. Excuse me
Oh
while I.
no.
But I log in using GitHub. That doesn't make any sense. Excuse me while I
Oh,
change
then
this.
careful with your GitHub. Maybe it got hacked
Mm.
too. So if you don't have authentication in there,
Yeah, I do though.
do you
How do
have
I log
double? I
out?
totally recommend it, by the way. The more layers that you can't, they tried to hack my GitHub once.
How do you log out of Twitter? Oh, here we go.
No.
Log out. No, cancel. I don't want to log out. I want to add settings. Your account. Change your
Oh, in the
password.
meantime, people is coming. White bricks. Hello, white bread.
Twitter.
But you can get a good deal on it. Oh, Tommy's here as well.
Yeah.
So welcome everybody. We're making a little stop because Eliza's Twitter got hacked. She has to fix this. But today we have a special guest, so I'm gonna introduce him in the meantime. We have today Justin Gitlin. Am I saying your last name right, Gitlin?
Yep.
Better known as Cacheflow. Am I saying that right too? Because I feel like Spanish people would tend to say cash.
Nope. Yeah, like the money.
Yeah, great. Great, cool. So yeah, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself for a bit in the meantime? Eliza is fixing her stuff and tell everybody introduce yourself.
Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna blame this one on Elon Musk.
Yeah, what the fuck,
Me too,
Elon?
me too. Honestly, with the things that I read, sorry to divert again, but like he wants to charge money for Twitter, and I was like, what the fuck is this going
€8
to end? You know,
for
so
a
it's
blue
like,
tick.
so definitely like as soon as that comes in, I'm definitely gone. I'm still there, just like reading the waters, but I think it's gonna die. So
I mean, I was happy to stay until this random person turned my account into a crypto account. What the heck?
It's just like Elon to go all crypto on you.
Yeah,
yeah,
seriously.
maybe starting to charge
Sorry.
money on your end. So, but that was
Not
funny that
gonna
they
happen.
changed the
I'm just
photo
gonna
and
put like
everything. It's like,
whatever. I'm just gonna put a random photo and I'll change it back later. And then I'm gonna edit this. What is this
yeah, so
random
sorry that this
website?
happened to you.
I mean, it's fine. I already changed it took 2 seconds to change the password, and I should have paid attention when my one password was like security breach, but I never do. I actually thought about it the other day. I was like, I should probably. Okay.
I've never
Well, at least
gotten
you use
hacked actually. So.
How do I turn on double? Now I'm paranoid. Alithya, you're making me paranoid. I need to turn on double authentication.
I can help you later.
Security.
Just change the Twitter one for now, but I do think that nowadays it's kind of good to have this double authentication kind of thing.
Definitely. Two-factor authentication. There it
like
is.
one password is not even enough. Like not even like
right?
in anything. So
Soon we're gonna need 3-factor.
probably no. So
Okay, well, I think I did this. Okay, use authentic mobile authentication. Okay, yes. No, I don't want that. Okay, I'm here. Hi. Sorry. Literally, I only noticed. We're live, right?
we are live. Everybody's
I
live.
only noticed because I opened Twitter to tweet out that we were going live, and then I saw that some rando.
Yeah.
Usurped my account.
I did pick your Twitter yesterday when Cash retweeted us, and it was fine. So.
Right.
So I
mean, I feel like I looked
your
at it this
paranoia.
morning, and it was okay. Anyways. Okay. Hello to everyone in the chat.
Yeah, Tom is here. Richard is here. Hi, Richard and Tom and team. Those I
Yay.
know. White Bird, I don't know, but hello. That's a new person.
White
Oh,
bread.
white bread. I think that's my friend Andrew.
Oh,
yay.
really? Okay, yeah. So
Hi.
welcome. Yeah, that's why it's I figure like when I see new names and there's a guest, I figure it's somebody that came here because of you, probably. So yeah,
Hopefully,
he
I've
said
drawn one
he suggests
to
hi. It is your friend.
Yay. He confirmed.
Yeah, cool. So let's start
awesome.
again,
Well,
Justin. Now that Eliza, because I totally understand you,
Fully
Eliza. By the way,
inattentive.
I would totally like panic for like some minutes. So, but why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, like for the community, for the people that maybe are watching and actually have no idea who you are.
cool. Yeah. My name's Justin. I go by Cacheflow online, and I'm a professional software developer. I've been doing creative coding things for over 20 years. I started making video games while I was in college for a small web game studio. So I got an internship while I was doing computer science. So in that way, I kind of have a somewhat traditional route into creative coding, like doing video games, getting a computer science degree, studied digital media studies as a second major. So that was kind of like design and music and video, things like that, multimedia. And yeah, I worked for years building websites for the first decade and a half, maybe, of my career. Um, Built native apps, worked in the advertising space, then worked in the startup space, and now I'm back in sort of the creative services industry, kind of mostly working in the marketing space, but building interactive installations. So that's sort of the career path. Websites, apps, now interactive installations for like the last 7 years or so. That's been my full-time thing. Yeah, so interactive installations having aspects of generative art, interactivity, um, hardware, lighting, things like that. So that's been where I've been really focused over the last bunch of years. And yeah, and I guess I work for a creative studio called 𝗙𝗶 Studio now, and they were a client of mine. I was freelance for about 5 years, and they were my biggest client and most fun client. We do a lot of work for Nike, so a lot of the stuff on my portfolio that people have kind of come to know my. If you've seen my work, it's probably Nike stuff. So we did lots of really cool interactive installations for Nike at their big New York stores. So I was in New York a lot doing work for them, and all over the country and Canada and elsewhere. And that kind of led to just me being able to do cool things with code and interactive installations. And so I've started to do more work on my own, and I've had some of my own exhibitions and artwork out in the wild as well. So I sustain myself with client work, but hoping to do more artwork.
When you do your solo stuff, do you have a team with you, or are you like a fully one-man show?
I guess with the technology side, like the software, it's always basically me. Now with 𝗙𝗶, we're doing some projects. Like I actually have a team now, which is kind of amazing. I've been coding solo for so long, and it's really cool to have some other very talented developers. They're mostly kind of web developers. So they pitch in when there's like web interfaces, and I pitch in and write shaders with them. So it's a cool collaboration where we get to flex our skills in these like different domains. So
How many people do you have
yeah,
on your team? I'm curious. How many people do you have on your team that you were saying?
at 𝗙𝗶, my dev team is 5 people total. So it's myself and 4 other people, and the studio itself is about getting close to 40 people now, which is really wild. We've been growing a lot and just doing tons of projects, and it's been really fun.
40 people, it seems a lot of people to manage.
It's a lot of people. I mean, my little corner is pretty small, which is nice. But we have designers and 3D people, so we get to we have in-house 3D modelers and people who do amazing renders and animation. So it's really fun to be able to collaborate with them. Like they'll be making GLTF models for our WebGL stuff. We've been doing WebAR, a lot of that kind of work, and that's more the rest of my team. I pitch in where I'm helpful, but I've kind of been out of the web dev game for some years now, so I'm like really unfamiliar with how people actually make a website nowadays. Like I can make a website, but my team would be like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I feel that.
we do it like this
Cool.
now. So,
Yeah.
but it's been cool. They're like dragging me into the future with web dev, but it's still not, I don't think I'm not trying to like refocus on that because I've got my lane.
Yeah,
Is
no,
the
of
thing that
course.
you did with Wolf that felt huge, was that something that you did with that team or by yourself?
That was a solo project. Yeah. So that was just me. And that played out over the course of years. Like so Meow Wolf is, for anybody who doesn't know what Meow Wolf is, that's like an immersive kind of art gallery experience kind of thing. In the US, there are at least three locations now. And I had some personal connections with the folks who run Meow Wolf. And so I kind of got lucky in that regard. Like when people ask me, like, how did you get that? It's like,
it's always a kind of,
it's who you know. It's who you've like
the relationships you
befriended
build
along the way, and people who you've convinced that you're like cool and fun and talented, and like you're gonna follow through and all of that. But that was I think I gave them a proposal in 2017, maybe 2018. And it took years because it was just an enormous project. They built this whole building.
Oh, that took a while, right? Because you say you gave the proposal 2017 and you did it last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe it was 2018 then, but it was like years long. And so I kind of like, I signed up, they accepted my proposal, and then it was just like forever until it got built. I mean, part of that was COVID, like kind of delaying construction projects. Like that probably delayed it by a year. But that was just me, and it was basically a shader. And I have a couple RealSense cameras in there that kind of track you where you're walking and kind of like the general motion, and that feeds into different
there was a
uniforms in the
motion
shaders.
with body tracking. Because I couldn't see it. Like I'm scrolling to the feed of photos that you put on your website, but I always thought it was because you see the photo, no? So I couldn't see the movement. I'm gonna play the video soon.
Yeah, it's really subtle. Like my original idea was to do the kind of classic silhouette, like, but I just didn't want to do that. And so it's a lot more subtle. Like as you move left and right, or like towards or away from the walls, it kind of like
tiny
zooms and rotates patterns.
Okay.
And is this like a shader running and processing? Because I had always understood that processing was clunky with shaders, but maybe I'm thinking of 3D.
I think it is running and processing as a shader. And I have my own projection mapping tools that I've built, so you can see it's kind of spread across two walls. So so that's kind of just
you really built everything out yourself, huh? That's really, really impressive for matching.
Except for processing and all the libraries that I've used that are open source. But yeah, it's but I've built a lot of my own stuff. Trained the museum staff on like projectors settle after being there for a while, so they have to like reset the corner pin projection mapping sometimes. And then so two of the walls are projected, and that's just like one big surface that's then kind of split into two in projection map.
Cool.
And then the other two walls are printed. And so that was actually, I kind of recreated what was happening in the shader in sort of traditional processing code. So I could export a vector so they could print that on vinyl.
Super nice.
Yeah,
that's why maybe some people sometimes had a photo from not the projection, but the wall with like this printed version of your shader, right? So.
Yeah, it was originally for whatever reasons they had to cut a lot of budgets while the construction was happening. It was originally going to be all four walls plus the floor.
Floor is so nice. I love when they do the floor.
Yeah, me too.
Would have been
like
cool.
A full room, a full immersive room, right? So.
Yeah, so that was the plan, but I'm flexible, so
And it's super beautiful the way it turned out anyways. Like, I feel like it worked really well. But we're also huge fans of Moiré in general around here.
Yeah.
Totally same. Yeah, and there's a whole soundtrack, so it's got this kind of generative playback system where I have
Did you do the music, by the way? Sorry to interrupt, but did you also do the music? Okay, how did you do the music? Now I'm curious.
Yeah, I made a ton of loops of like I created kind of 3 different tracks. Like one is kind of low bass tones, one is sort of like mid-range synthesizer and other sort of sounds, and they're all just seamless wave file loops. And then the other sort of like environmental and sound effects, and they kind of, those 3 tracks kind of like fade in and out on their own, and the frequencies from that audio as they're playing back are sent in as audio textures into the shader as well. So the patterns kind of deform to the music as well.
Super cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
So it kind of just like does its own thing. You like never see the same thing twice, even though you see, similar patterns.
Oh, wish I would have visited this. Now it sounds even cooler now when you explain it. I only saw the photos.
Bring it to
online.
Europe. Bring it to Europe. Yeah, Wolf needs a Europe location.
Let's go.
They're only US based, right?
I think so far, yeah. And it's been, they were like the first kind of big organization to do this kind of thing, and now there are so many others that are, I've seen photos of places all over Europe that are doing similar things. So
that's true.
I could see this at the 𝗙𝗶𝗻𝗱 in Paris. I think it would look great. Just saying.
Sign me up.
So let's talk about this shader that you've created for us today, because I feel like it definitely ties into kind of, it's a similar vibe to what you did with Meow Wolf. It is Moiré-esque.
Yeah, I actually took some of the code directly from the Meow Wolf program and sort of made a super minimal version of it without the audio reactivity and without some of the other stuff, just to get a feel for sort of how those patterns are being made. And the general idea, and I'm not a shader wizard or witch or whatever we call shader experts. I've been using shaders for a long time, but I'm not that great with them. But
I feel like everybody thinks that though, because shaders just are notoriously complicated. But I think you're great with shaders.
And how long have you been using shaders? Because you said I've been using them for how long? It's long for you.
Yeah, well, first, that is very kind of you to say, Eliza. But I started learning them in like 2013, 2014. And for years, like I didn't really understand like how they did what they did. And I was trying for years. And where I really started kind of making good use of them was in post-processing effects. So like I'd be drawing things and processing, just sort of traditional generative graphics, and then you put a post-processing shader pass on there, and then you've got like a vignette filter or like a grain filter. And I realized like how much sort of more depth that can add to sort of really plain looking vector shapes.
Totally.
And then it was years later that I was like, I actually need to learn how shaders actually work. So I tried writing a shader a day for a month in 2017. And just doing generative graphics. And so I was posting those on Instagram. They're super basic. And I mean, nice of you to say that I might know how to do shaders, but like looking at Mario's or Sean's or Patricio's, geez, like these are all people you've had on. And
for sure. Yeah, no, I totally get that.
They're all so inspiring to me.
Yeah, no, always, of course. But I think it's pretty, like, it's interesting because I think there's a whole bunch of people that come to shader through the post-processing kind of angle, and Ilithya and I totally like didn't at all. So for me, that side of things is like completely, like, it very much still seems like not quite in my reach. Like I kind of understand it, but I don't always. All of the passes and that stuff I get really confused by.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of complicated to set that up in a traditional like 3JS environment or WebGL environment, because you need multiple FBOs. But in processing, it's actually ridiculously easy. You just load your shader, and after you draw your stuff, you just say like run the shader in one line of code, and like you don't have to
Amazing.
set up all that other infrastructure.
Okay, cool.
So I think I had an easy way into that where, and I guess like Touch Designer makes it kind of
super
that
easy. Yeah.
also, because it's just like dealing with lots of off-screen graphics context that it kind of just handles for you to set your chain, like your compositing chain up.
Totally. You have another vote in the chat who someone said that you're pretty decent at shaders.
Jack.
Oh, well.
So there you go. Jack Gorse.
By the way, did you learn when you were doing your dailies back then, were you following the book of shaders?
Oh, yeah. That's
Because
actually...
when did that make its debut? I was trying to think. You started in 2013.
I think around that time.
Yeah.
I think it was around, because I remember not feeling like I could do anything until I got into reading through the book of shaders.
2015. 2015 it says on the bottom. Yeah.
And I think it's fancier now. Yeah. There was one other tutorial that I've been telling my students about called Fragment Foundry.
Is it the one?
Yeah. Eliza told me about that one. Now I always give it to my students as well. I think it's really great.
Cool. Like those two kind of got me over a hump where I could like finally start to understand anything.
Okay.
I wonder, I should try and do the exercises again. Fragment
You
Foundry.
did them, I think. Didn't you when you told me about it the other time?
But I want to do it again.
Because when you told me, I went ahead and did them. And I was having a hard time with the ray marching ones, actually. So I was like,
of course, I mean,
this is cool.
Yeah.
I was going to say the ones at the end I still can't do.
So hard.
Yeah, the ray march ones. Yeah, they're tricky. So, but that's why I thought it's actually a very good learning, because you get a little bit of everything in a tiny test, and I like their explanations to the right. So yeah, cool.
Yeah, so thank you. To the people who have made those tools.
Totally. There's another one. There was another guy on GitHub that made a downloadable like shader notebook, but that one is really complicated. I think I got through like 2 exercises and then I tapped out. It's not for me. Some of them are just
Yeah, it's like kind of going back to just even setting up a post-processing shader pass. It's like if you don't know all of the sort of underlying plumbing, it's like it can be so mysterious. So for like, it's really important, I think, for people to start with something that abstracts all of that away, so you don't need to worry about it and get confused and get defeated.
Agreed. Definitely agreed.
I put it a bit on the screen for people that are watching and maybe they didn't know about it. Tom put the link.
And 𝗙𝗶𝗱 posted it in the. Is it Tom or Tim? 𝗙𝗶𝗱. I always forget if it's Tim or Tom. Tom. Thank you, Tom. Sorry.
And
he posted the link also.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, if you want to have anybody learn how to do shaders, that's where I point everybody to start.
Yeah, me too. Book of Shaders, and that is like a good mix.
Yeah.
Cool. Another question: Do you love black and white when you do your work? Because I must say that, and now that I see the shader and your Moiré room, but I think in general, no. Is it like your trademark, black and white? Mostly?
I mean, it's less intentional. Just it's more me being bad with color. Like
color's hard. It's so hard. Color. It's very, very difficult. I find.
Totally.
Yeah.
See.
It is. It's totally.
But I do like black and white. I'm working on a whole aesthetic with my fits. Trying to go black and white because again, color's hard. I don't want to walk out into the world with some like bad colors going on. So if we go black and white, it's always going to work.
Yeah, I was just thinking about your mug too, so that you show us.
Right.
You should show it to the stream. So it's very similar to the shader. Yes. So cool.
Yeah, I'm very much not a designer. I've worked with a lot of designers over the years, so I've picked up a lot. I've taken classes. I just like don't have the visual imagination that I wish I had. So like the things that I do with code to make art is really like a result of the tools and the things that I know how to do with code, or like the explorations that I do with code. It's generally not like I've got this great idea. It's sort of like I'm going to start writing some code, or I like I'm exploring a new technique that I'm excited about, and that's like really where it all comes from. And I think that's like, you know, I look at a lot of other generative artists and I'm just amazed at like the vision that some people have, where I feel like I'm just sort of like messing around with code.
Totally. I so relate.
Hmm.
Totally.
But once in a while I have an idea. Like the 𝗙𝗵 room was, you know, that was like a larger concept that was like, yeah, okay, this is a piece of art. This is something that I feel like it was considered and had more of a plan. So that's kind of tough for me, and that's where I always struggle, like saying, yeah, I'm an artist, because I just don't feel like I'm coming at it from that angle. Like I don't have a great artist statement.
Really,
Or
because you are an artist, so that's interesting now that you're talking about maybe a little bit imposter syndrome there, so that you don't feel like an artist, but you are an artist. Like I mean, I
But
started to follow
it's
your
because I
work
feel,
because of
yeah.
the art of it, of the installation stuff that you were posting, you know. So I'm pretty sure, I don't remember when I started to follow you, but I know that I found you because of that caught my attention, you know. All this.
cool. It's a struggle. I guess
No, but
some people are way more comfortable making declarations about who they are and what
But I
they
think
are.
also a lot of there is that, like, there seems to be a kind of slice down the middle of people who make stuff where it's like, you either, who was it? There's a singer who was like, art has to be political, da da da, for it to count as art. And so it's like, if you don't have a specific statement that you stand for, a lot of people just don't feel like they can claim the title of artist. So yeah,
Sure. But
it's
then,
tricky.
and on the other hand, I was at a retrospective exhibit for Duchamp.
Duchamp.
Okay.
Duchamp. Oh,
Sure.
No, don't worry about it.
thank you. And there was this great quote in that exhibition that he had said at some point. It was, "If it's art, if I say it's art," and I really resonated with that. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's where I'm coming from.
Totally.
Yeah,
I agree.
I believe
I
in
mean,
that
I
too.
think he said that about turning a urinal into art, which to me is very reminiscent of the banana on the wall, which I don't particularly love personally, but everyone gets their say, right? Exactly what you're saying. If they decide it's art, it's art.
Yeah, and if you're making something, if you're being creative,
Yeah,
then
Exactly.
I think
but
that
that's exactly what
qualifies.
art is too, you know, so that sometimes somebody that is not the artist comes and see it and say that, no, this is not art, like I could do it like in my
But they
room,
don't
like
do
even
it.
better. So yeah, so it's like it already provokes a reaction, I feel like, in the person questioning the fact if it's art. So you know, so it's part of it,
Not
I
an argument
feel.
I generally want to get into, but I think we
Yeah,
can all agree if we're making stuff, then that qualifies as art.
I absolutely. I mean, it's very North American, and I love it. When I moved to France, it was like the total opposite. It was like, did you go to the Les Beaux-Arts? Then it's not art. Does it have yeah, I wrote my master's thesis on it, not knowing this going in, and then I discovered this whole alternate viewpoint, and I was like, oops. And I was writing about generative art, and they had no idea what I was talking about because it's 2011. So they were like, algorithms?
Yeah.
No, that can't be art. Well, now who's laughing? Anyways.
I think
To
some
be
people
fair,
still don't understand it, by the way, and they think that way. So
It's true.
yeah,
this
it's
is
just
true.
because we're in our
would
bubble.
I would honestly err on the side of the French perspective than the North American perspective, but
I
I
feel like
also
there's
don't
got to be wiggle room somewhere. But yeah.
totally.
Okay. Speaking of art,
Yeah,
But
let's
back
pick
to your
apart this
shader.
shader, shall we?
we made art. Look at this art.
I'm
Yes.
very curious. I see three functions in here. Two rotate coordinates, I think I understand, but OSC between and saw,
So
these are ones that you created yourself? I don't
Yeah,
know if you want to explain the whole, maybe you feel
sure.
like going over the whole shader, I don't know.
Sure. Yeah. The rotate function is really sort of standard way of rotating your UV coordinates. And that's where we're seeing some of these things, these patterns sort of like oscillating back and forth. So that's pretty straightforward. I think you see that in a lot of shaders. And so I've made a little function because I don't want to have to write that a million times. So you pass in UV and radians that you want to rotate it by, and it just sends back a transformed UV coordinate. Then the saw function a long time ago, a friend of mine who was doing really sort of advanced computer graphics was like, yeah, sometimes I swap out a sine function for a saw function. And I was like, that sounds so cool. And he was showing me these graphics he made that had these, instead of a nice smooth curve, it had these angular curves. And I thought that was so neat. So I wrote a saw function. I think there's surely a way better way to write a saw function. It's basically it's a sine wave, but just straight lines. And this saw function syncs up completely with a sine function, so you can swap it out, and the period is exactly the same.
Cool.
And the values coming out of it. So kind of a fun function to have just for shaping things a little bit differently. So that's that. And then the oscillate between function, that was, I found myself for this particular shader wanting to just oscillate a lot of values between some range of numbers at different rates. So being able to pass in a low value, a high value, the time for how sort of fast that oscillation is going to happen, and then an offset to maybe have a couple, have two oscillations but offset from each other, even if they're on the same time. There are better words for this that are more scientific, and I'm failing because I'm.
No, you're not failing.
Oh, like time, like cycle, you mean?
Yeah. Anyway, I swear I know what I'm doing.
No, I think it makes sense. I think it makes sense.
So those are sort of just the utility functions that I then use in the pattern function. So I added two pattern functions. If we scroll down a little bit.
The shadow stripes.
Oh, so well commented your code. Wow,
vortex.
nice.
Well, I tend to comment a lot because I can't, especially with shader code, it's so terse.
I write paragraphs of comments,
but you come as well.
This is doing this thing.
And I was gonna say, you come from a dev world, so I feel like we have a tendency, if you work in development, to the comments. Just you learn for yourself and your team. So I think.
And I want to be able to understand it later if I come back. Yeah. So there are these two functions, the draw chevron stripes and then draw warp vortex. And so I think, I don't know, if I edit the code, does it just show up, or
it'll flash and then it'll update.
Yeah.
Ooh, cool.
Where are you? But let me know where you are.
So the main. He's on line 99.
Yeah, I went down to the bottom. So the sort of the
you swapped it in there, right?
I just uncommented. I have a little line where I can test the individual patterns.
Okay.
And so the whole concept of this shader is that I made, I think, 9 or 10 different pattern functions. This is for the in the Meow_Wolf installation that we're looking at. So if you're just joining, this is like a really minimal version of a larger art piece that I have as an interactive installation at Meow_Wolf. Because I kind of wanted to, it was something neat to talk about, just like how these patterns were created for that installation. And so I ported over the code, brought 2 of the patterns over, and really it's just sort of oscillating like the strength of these patterns. And so we only have 2 here, so I just kind of have them randomly oscillating their strengths and kind of adding up together. And so if you look at line 94 through 96, it's just setting a monochrome color as the result of these different patterns, adding them up, but using an oscillation to determine how sort of strong each one is represented. So it's kind of crossfading in between these patterns. So in the real installation, I have about 10 of them, and those sort of, that crossfading is determined by uniforms on the CPU side. So I have sort of a strategy of picking the next random pattern that I'm going to add in, and if I'm going to have 2 patterns or 1 pattern or up to 3 patterns, I'll mix them sort of accordingly. So if I have 3 patterns, they'll all be mixed at 1/3, so they're completely combined, and they're very slowly shifting their crossfade. So this is moving pretty fast, but in the real installation, they're just glacial
Very slow. Yeah.
slow. So like over the course of a minute, you'll be like, oh, it's different now, but you won't really,
Cool.
it's not super apparent as it's happening, but a little easier to see what's going on here.
Oh yeah.
I was commenting out just to, figure out your two drawing.
And so this
Now
one,
I can
this
see the
one's,
saw in this one, no? Isn't it like,
yep.
the
And it
spikes?
actually, it interpolates between a saw and a sine. So you'll see the saw turn into a sine and back into a saw. It does this like kind of wobbly thing.
Yeah. I commented the other one now. And the other one is
And
just
then,
like
but wait,
the
so then it
H
goes
turn.
to black, and then okay, so it comes back. Okay.
Because
Yeah.
while it goes black, the other one comes in light, right? So you have them kind of like
Theoretically,
overlapping, I imagine. So because when we uncomment both of them, we never see the blackness. So.
Yep, because they like on 90 and 91, they only ever go down to 0.3 strength. That's like basically a brightness of they're always between 0.3 and 0.7. So if there's two of them overlapping, we should always have enough brightness to then get thresholded on line 102. I'm using smooth step to sort of threshold it and display the result. So pretty basic, but you get these cool like interference patterns, I guess you would probably call that. The way that they combine, and the patterns themselves, if we sort of zoomed out further, they would have more of that Moiré look, but then it gets kind of hard to see on the screen, especially on a stream, so kind of bigger. Yeah, we could maybe like add a third.
Yeah, let's
I was
because there's not much to
zooming
it,
in, but yeah.
Where did you zoom? How did you zoom?
Oh, the UV in line
with the
87.
zoom, sorry, on 87. Yeah, of course. Cool.
Yeah, it's in there, I think.
The layers, I feel like it gives the impression that there's like some kind of funny mirror reflection-y thing cutting out chunks or something when I look at it. It's really nice. I love it.
Yeah.
And I think I kind of just stumbled upon it and was like, oh, there's an art piece.
Oh, happy accidents are the
Happy
best.
accident.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of generative art has of that, no? So, because in the end, especially like speaking about art, we're like sometimes creating things without like a certain, not every time maybe the idea is fully in the head. So if you're just, experimenting with parameters and then you find something interesting, then you divert. Maybe even if you're trying to do something, like you divert as you are like experimenting, and then you find like, oh, let me save this one and try later.
Totally.
Yeah, and like one little line of code or one technique can just unlock a whole new piece of art. And I'm sure, I feel like I've seen that with both your work. It's like, okay, now we're going down this path because we found this cool
Find
thing.
a new little itch to scratch and then keep going.
Yeah,
and it's just so tough because there are so many of those.
Definitely. But I feel like for me anyways, if I find a little itch and then I lose track of time, then I know it's a good direction. If I'm trying to scratch at it and I feel like time is crawling by, it's no good. Like clearly there's either I need to learn more or I just need to give it some time. Super cool. Okay, let's try and add a third then.
Cool. So yeah, I mean, I think we could add another pattern function, and I guess we could also, like on line 99, we could comment that or uncomment a pattern function and maybe create a new one and work on that and then add it into the mix. And I think we'd really only have to add one extra line of code to sort of add that up to the other
kind
pattern.
of like you had, right? So you had before only this one just to test it.
I'm going to make a new pattern function. Oh, and there we have.
Oh yeah, and that's our lovely debugger. Constant shout out to Sean Zone, who created that for us.
Yes. Thank you, Sean. It's great because it's better than reading the console for.
So hard to debug.
Yeah.
Shaders otherwise.
And we've got a new pattern, which is black.
Nothing.
Just black for now.
So what do we do?
I don't know. Probably just stripes. Oh.
Stripes?
I like stripes.
I was just gonna say probably just stripes.
And that is one there in my large wrap. There is just sort of a basic stripes, because that always works well laid over any of those other patterns. So.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you actually, because like more like I have a book on Moiré where it has like all the pages have a design, and you have this like plasticky thing that you pull across. Do you know the series? Wait, is it in arm's reach? Sort of.
Why do I
Let's
have
see. These books. Oh, he's gonna pull the same one, maybe. Yeah.
Ah, yeah.
These guys. So I wondered when you did your Meow Wolf one, do you like plan out how you want the patterns to like be at the end, or do you just kind of like do layers and then pick and go from there?
I wanted more than I just wanted more. So a lot of them kind of came from those early shader toy dailies that I was doing back in 2017. I was like, well, here's some simple code that I can then, start adding audio reactivity to, and these oscillations based on the music and the camera movement. So it was just sort of a quick way to just like start pulling in pattern functions. And I wanted to keep them kind of basic because I thought the magic was sort of like how they got combined together.
Totally. I see you setting up a little fract.
Yeah, but I'm maybe sleeping, but why do I have an error? Help
Wait,
me.
let's
Is
see
it
your
because
error.
it's like a two
Stripe,
vector?
dimension mismatch. Dimension mismatch.
Ah, yeah, it was that.
Now it's
yeah,
okay.
I had a vector
Now
too, so.
Now that I got you to pull a book off your shelf, I suddenly remembered that I asked you about all of your books and your favorite ones.
Right. And
no
actually,
pressure, but I love.
You brought up the Moiré patterns. I actually got this book recently.
Oh, I have that one in PDF form, I think.
Wait, I think Raphael showed us this book when he was here. Raphael de
Maybe.
𝗙𝗶, I think. I have a feeling that I've seen this one.
And there's just
no, it's not that one that I have. Oh,
endless
so
cool examples of patterns. And so and I got this way after I did the Meow Wolf thing.
So nice. Yeah.
Very, very inspirational.
Yeah.
Just like the simplicity and sort of I don't know, timelessness of these patterns is really nice. And maybe
do you go digging online for them, or do you find them in your local?
I go digging online. I found some good, like there are all these used bookstores online, and you can often get a pretty good deal. And I do like buying used when possible.
Me too.
For the environmental reasons, even though shipping a book is sort of like
I know it's tricky.
You can't win, but I do like buying used, and you can get good deals and find books that you just can't find in a store. Also, so
totally.
Yeah,
because I think sadly sometimes you cannot get the book that you want like in your local bookstore. Like even when I do go.
I mean, a lot of like out of print things you will only find.
Yeah, exactly.
We're gonna have to commercial break in 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
I keep forgetting that Google Meet does that now.
No, but
why is there not a bookshelf? Why is Tom? It's Tom, right? Pumperded is Tom.
Yeah, Tom.
Why is there not a bookshelf recommendation section on the Curiously Minded website yet? Oh, that is a good.
It's a good
question.
Today I learned. We should probably add it in there.
We should probably update that.
Yeah.
We have moving stripes, and we have a wonderful suggestion. I like that for 2023, adding a book section.
Mm-hmm.
You could,
because we've asked many of you that come here always, so
for recommendations. To show us some books. True.
Well, I've got a pile of books that I can show.
Yes, please, book haul.
Well, should
we do books, or should we merge this pattern in with our other pattern?
Let's merge.
And then you show us another book.
Yeah, we can merge and then do books.
I feel like we're one step away. So
okay, so we've got the pattern. Thank you, Ilithya, for that.
Yeah, that was nice. So down in the main function.
Some of patterns.
So I've got the three. Well, now we've got three mix oscillations. So like we can have that kind of oscillating in and out of the mix at a different rate than the others. which could be neat. And maybe we'll like offset that slightly differently than the last one. And so then we've got draw function 3 mix, so we can add up our
I'm gonna comment the other
result.
one.
Thank you. Oh wow, live coding with 3 cursors is awesome. So then
Oh,
we can
sorry. You moved mine. No offense.
add a new pattern into the mix, and hopefully,
Yeah,
Ooh.
it's there.
look at that. Subtle, that
Cool.
should kind of oscillate in and out. I would hope that we
Yeah.
kind of see it
I
Yeah.
see
go
it,
away a
you know,
little bit.
because it's like blinds, you know.
Yeah,
Do you
it's
see
like
them?
Venetian
I see
blinds,
them.
kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. But is
I
it
mean,
going
if
in and out? I can't tell. Is it the other things that are going in and out? Oh, no. Yeah.
I think they
yeah.
all are, but if I drop the lower end of the mix all the way down to 0, it should probably, maybe it was never getting
Small enough.
there
Oh,
we go.
okay.
So it
Cool.
wasn't
Oh,
getting
there it is. Okay.
mixed completely out. So we can
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
have that mixed a little bit lower than the other patterns in our like crossfader mixing
Mm-hmm.
board.
So cool.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. So then now you just piqued my curiosity. In your processing setup with this, do you ever attach things to like controllers and do it like manually and like I don't know VJ with it or something?
Oh yeah.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, we could. I got lots of examples. We could probably find one, but yeah, I love the. It's really like if you have a lot of parameters in your generative program, if you can attach those to MIDI knobs, I feel like that's the most natural way to explore the parameter space, and it's just so tactile. You can like really dial it in. And with a mouse, you can really only explore 2
dimension or 2, yeah,
two
X and
axes.
Y.
Yeah.
Totally.
And so with a controller, you have like all of it right there.
Yeah,
and
that's
I
true.
just I love being able to actually touch a button and not necessarily click on something, but just like, yeah,
Well,
spin
you
the
can be
knobs.
faster,
So
like I
nice.
said, you know, so
Mm-hmm.
instead of like, I do like to do it manually with the fingers. I know it takes longer, but I can see the advantage of the MIDI controller. So kind of.
It's fun. Cool.
So show us one book, by the way, at least.
Yeah, one more. What's your top favorite right
that
now?
we put them. And I'm gonna reply to Tim because he was asking how does the debug view work. It's in JavaScript, Tim. Sean Sommer wrote it for us, so it's like just JavaScript with 3 years. So that's how it works. You can check out the template in one of the code pens in my profile, by the way.
Is it just in the JavaScript section? He just like added a line?
Yeah, no. The for the debug.
Check
Yeah,
for shader errors.
yeah,
Shader errors. I see it.
yeah. Shader error view. It's just
Cool.
written in JavaScript. So and then
Super nice.
there are like 3 functions, I think. So.
True.
And I tweaked the CSS, by the way, because it was different. So
I remember you doing that. Yeah. Because it wasn't showing up as well. This is.
yeah, Rafael gave us that it was red in the beginning, and the flashes, yeah, indeed was very like every time red in the face.
Oh wait, now the lines are turning.
I added a little rotate.
Cool. Yeah.
Our new pattern. So it's kind of just oscillating rotation there.
Yeah.
Is it because like in the new pattern function, the lines are black and white, but here we only get the like slice of the line. So where did the black go? Is that just because we're multiplying?
What do you mean slice of the line? Yeah, it's
well. So like if you know what I mean, the lines were black and white, and now we just actually get the edge of the line.
Right.
I think it's because of the draw function mix, right? Like the oscillation of you're tweaking like the light and darkness of in between.
And so line 109 to 111, we're just adding, like we're never subtracting. So I actually wonder if I subtract the last one, that could give us a little bit of a different look. Now it's
darker.
Darkening rather than
Slightly
lightening.
darker.
So that's a cool look.
And I'll bet if you multiply it as well, it's gonna be different because it's gonna be overlapped.
Oh yeah.
Good
This is the stuff
Try
that I
that.
like to play with.
Ooh,
Too.
okay,
You
yeah,
see,
yeah.
now you see them like in black
Oh,
with the tiny gap of white.
and then if
then
we, I guess we want to like raise the sort of floor of
yeah, it's kind
oscillation
of
of that
cool because
pattern.
then you see them behind, no? Something appearing like a window peeking through
Oh, it's like the
the
opposite view
blinds.
of the Venetian blinds, right? It's like the outside
Yeah,
view.
exactly. Like you're trying to pick what's inside. So show me.
Funny.
Yeah, cool.
It's
Yeah, I
art.
like this one.
Totally. I
Yeah.
love the layering also because for me, it's like when 2D stuff feels like there's depth and there's 3D, I don't know why, but it makes me very happy.
Mhm.
And I would be, yeah, I'd be interested to see what happens if we added color. It's not something
Ooh,
I'm good
yeah.
at, but I could see this, this technique would be cool for
Definitely.
just
Every
mixing.
layer, its own color. That could be super fun. Yeah.
We can add it like in the pattern, actually. I think that would be the.
This is true. I think, yeah, I guess this should.
Wouldn't that be the easiest? Well, let me think. If
Directly
we
in the
want
new pattern function?
in each pattern, so that each pattern has the color. If you want each pattern to have their own color, kind of.
Right. I think if we add red to our stripes.
Ah,
Yeah.
yes, of course.
So
Of course.
just use that like the monochrome color as one of the parameters.
Yeah, that's true. And then let's have this one green. Wait, now we don't see anything. We broke
No,
it.
wait. I tried to make the middle one blue, but let me put it back to normal. Let's see.
That should have worked. Shouldn't that have worked?
That should work. That should have worked.
So that we have lots of red.
Yeah.
And maybe
I was
maybe it's
making
because
green the middle one.
Maybe we don't have enough of each color. I'm thinking. So maybe if we, I'm just like increasing down in where they're mixed.
Online
Oh,
103, Elicia.
Maybe?
Oh, okay, wait. We're
We still
gonna
don't
get
see them.
kicked out of this phone call in a minute.
Oh.
Justin will post another link in the Instagram group chat. Ooh,
Oh, there
wow.
I see them.
There we go. We had left the multiplication in where they were mixing.
Of course.
So now it's all additive.
Amazing.
Okay. Do we need to take
We're gonna do a commercial break briefly. It'll be like a 30-second break.
We'll be back.
Don't go anywhere.
This time we're coming very fast.
Super fast.
See you soon. Hi.
We're back.
Yes. Yeah.
We'll see if Eliza makes it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, she is here. I was like, I hope I sent it right, but yes.
And we're back.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hey.
Well, should we show a book? I've got
Yes. I was just curious about the book thing as well.
Got a stack of books that
Show us all your favorites.
Prepared, all of my favorites. So this was the one that I had no idea about, and it's such an epic, amazing book. Is a little known story about a movement, a magazine, and the computer's arrival in art. It's from the MIT Press, and it is almost all from the 1960s. And it's all generative art and installation art using technology from 60s, which is just so wild.
Yeah.
Like all these people in suits with amazing haircuts. Let's see if we've got a picture, like
Yeah, show us.
making cool fonts.
Okay. Cool.
It's an enormous book. Lots of cool photography. And yeah, that one was just really mind-blowing just because of the era. Like I think there are the sort of classic generative artists that we're familiar with, that I think the generative art community has like recognized as the pioneers, but there are so many more people, I think, especially outlined in this book, that like you just have never heard of, that were doing super cool work.
Thank you to Tom for posting. He's being such a
Yeah.
lovely moderator.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
That looks so cool.
So I can put it
I
on
love
the
this book. Putting it
on the
and
screen.
that one I got used. I think all of these I got used.
Mhm.
Okay.
Almost all of them I got used. This is a fun one, computer graphics. This is from
I feel like I've seen
1970,
this one.
1975.
Maybe
Oh,
you
wow.
saw it in Justin's Instagram stories.
Yeah, could
Very,
be.
very possibly. But again, just like crazy to think, 1975. How long ago is that? That's
Wild.
47 years ago.
Yeah.
And like looks like we could have made that with processing
Yeah.
today.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, always interesting just to like think about how long people have been
making this stuff, right? And in like all the different ways people went around to do it. So cool.
Like 3D already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3D
Like we think
is
about
tough.
how far it's come recently, but yeah, it's kind of wild to think about how they were doing it back then.
But even like wild to think too that it's come so far and yet we are still creating like the same type of, we're playing with the same concepts still. So like, yeah, I don't know.
Grids of boxes.
Grids and boxes, always. Like, everyone loves a wireframe.
Which is like, it's just also kind of interesting. That's just like the most native output for a computer is a grid of boxes. It's pixels, it's 2D arrays. That's like how computers think, kind of. Which is
although I have to say, given the amount of triangles required in like 3D rendering, I'm surprised that everything is more boxes and grids than triangles. But that's just me. I know that triangles are tricky for people in general to make.
That's a fair point. And I guess maybe some of the difference there is like, are you on the CPU or the GPU? Because the triangles are to the GPU, where like grids of boxes would be more native to the CPU.
Yeah, you're right. No, totally. Too many triangles, your computer will just.
Oh, what's the second book name, by the way?
That was
somebody in the chat is asking for
computer graphics. 118 computer generated designs, including 10 in full color. By Melville something.
Take a screenshot.
Melville Pruitt. Screenshot it.
Yeah. Great.
I guess we can always review the playback.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
This one I just got pretty interesting exploration of like 3D, sort of how 3D shapes
beyond the third dimension. Oh, I've seen this in Amazon. It's been on my like, I click it and then I unclick it all the time.
Why?
Probably because it's more pricey, or
yeah. I'm always like, do I need another book?
I think I found a good used deal on this one.
Oh yeah, it's expensive. You're right.
But there is this 1990. It's funny because I find sometimes that the ones from the more recent, like 90s and 80s, are more expensive than the 60s ones. But there is this used bookstore. Yeah, Abe Books. Tom just posted it. It's still apparently linked to Amazon, but apparently the sellers make a larger margin of profit than if you were to buy used directly on Amazon. So putting that out there.
Well, now I'm disappointed that it's Bezos related.
Yeah, I know, but he's got his hands in all the books. What can we say? At this point, he's got the monopoly on it.
Yeah.
I mean, except bookshop.org,
Amazon, you mean,
but that's
or
not
who?
available in Europe yet. Sorry?
Who said it got the monopoly? I got lost because I was reading something.
Oh, Jeff Bezos. Bezos.
Yeah.
Because there's
Amazon,
Abe Books, which is like a really nice place to find used books, but then apparently he owns it.
So it's the same as ordering from
like
Amazon.
When you buy
basically.
Evian, you're really drinking Coca-Cola, it's the same.
Because I did find sometimes in Amazon there are like as well secondhand. I've ordered like secondhand books in there too, like not
totally.
Especially these kind of like old books that sometimes could be very expensive. I order like a
Yeah.
second-hand one, which is still sometimes pricey.
Mm. Whenever I find an expensive secondhand book on Amazon, I check on books, and it's usually a little bit cheaper, but not always. Sometimes it's the other way around.
Oh,
What else
okay.
you got for us, Justin? I see you
Yeah.
smiling at a book that
Yeah.
you're flipping through.
Yeah, just the cover is so sort of cheesy by today's standards, but it's just amazing. This is Digital Visions, Computers, and
My
Art.
friend Ines has that. I've looked at it. She found it at a garage sale last summer, and we love it. Every time I'm at her place, we like pour over it. This one is really nice, you guys.
like-
I 10 recommend, having flipped through it myself.
I think the
Can you
cover
move
is
it to the
fish and
right? Digital? Yeah.
It's got
Okay,
like,
cool.
I don't know if this is a random reference, maybe it's a Canadian show, but there was a show in the 90s called Reboot, and it's giving me Reboot vibes. Do you know Reboot?
Okay. I don't
Mhm.
know.
No?
Mm-mm. We don't
Can I
know
find
what
the
that
trailer
is.
for it? Oh, they're missing out. It's literally the story of the inside of a computer, and all of the characters live in the mainframe, and they have to protect the computer from the virus, the evil virus.
What?
Does
Okay.
anyone know? Oh, a few people know. Yes.
Richard
I'm not
knows
alone.
it. So Whitebird too.
Reboot.
So.
Trailer. Can someone, if anyone knows the trailer, can they pop it in the chat for everyone?
Yeah,
else?
put it because I have no idea
Reboot
what you were talking about.
show. It's like a terrible
Sounds
CGI,
cool.
but it's like of the time it was 1994, so it's very old.
At the time, it was great. I imagine. So it's like when you're watching like a science fiction movie from the 90s now, and it looks so fake. But I think back then, I remember that it looked so real.
I'm posting it in the Instagram just so that I can grab it on my iPad so I can pop it in the chat. I found it. Full episodes on YouTube, you
Okay.
guys.
Oh, nice. I will say that reminds me, if you haven't watched the original Tron recently, like
Oh, yeah.
some of the ways that they describe like what's happening in the computer is pretty good. Like kind of holds up with like how they sort of frame this like digital world and how it relates to like computer terminology. As people who write code, it's like they could have gotten that really wrong, but they actually did a really good job.
Totally.
I never watched the Tron film fully, honestly. I tried watching it and then I got bored at some point and I could never finish it actually.
It's true. It's because of Tron that we have Perlin noise.
Yeah,
Truth.
it is.
I got to meet. I shook Ken Perlin's hand a few years ago.
What? That's wild. Oh, mic drop. That's clout.
I was in New York for a project, and there's a guy, Nate Turley. He's on Twitter, Instagram. He does cool graphic stuff. He doesn't post a lot of what he makes, but he does really cool shader stuff as well. He brought me to some meetup, and it was in, I think, an NYU building where Ken Perlin had an office, and I was like, "That's Ken Perlin's office," and he was in there, and I got to meet him.
Wow.
I kept it chill. I did not like.
Yeah, you
I
can't
act
fangirl.
as
You have
a
to be
fan.
like super cool guy.
You
Like,
didn't
oh, wow,
act as a
thank you.
fan.
Bye.
I don't think I embarrassed myself.
Cool.
Oh, I love it. I'm so jealous. What did I read? I'm trying to read. It's a very slow process, but I'm reading a textbook on shaders. And at the beginning of it, they talk about how shaders actually originated because of Star Wars. So you have Tron to thank for Perlin noise and shaders apparently to thank for Star Wars. Or
That I didn't know.
Star Wars to thank for shaders. Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go
and
figure.
What was that? There's like that example of the first 3D real-time graphics from
The teapot, no?
Ed Catmull. It's a hand, I think.
Oh.
From
like,
a movie
from
as well?
1973. I think it was Ed Catmull worked on a ton of movies over the years. But there's one
That's what I
video
was
from
thinking
1970.
because I feel like the film industry, because of the film industry, like we have a lot of the computer graphics because they were just trying to make some random effect. And yeah, and then thanks to that.
I think we got a link. I
was trying to look for it.
Yeah.
Computer animated hand.
Is that one? The one that you referred to?
Edwin Catmull. Yeah, I think that's. I had heard a different name, but this is cool.
Ed Catmull, who created algorithms that we use today still, and co-founded Pixar.
Ah, yes. Okay, so I wasn't far off. I thought it was the
cool.
teapot. I knew it was Pixar related. Cool.
Oh, nice.
So
Oh, there is
cool.
a
There's a
hand.
really
Okay.
There's a video of it on YouTube or Vimeo, and it's
Mm.
really neat. And it looks like he's shading triangles in clearly, I guess, pre-shaders, if but you have to imagine same kind of techniques.
Yeah, it looks like
Really
a
interesting.
wireframe hand.
Does
kind of,
1972?
Wow, cool. I didn't
And I
know
think there's
about this one.
in the video there is a shaded version that isn't totally
Mm.
wireframed, and I feel like I saw some of the behind the scenes, like sort of graphing of like creating the triangle vertices on paper, and
Oh,
it's all
wow.
pretty neat to think about.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the origin and not Star Wars. Maybe I misread in that book.
I have no idea. I've
I
never
could
heard
be
of that
totally
one, of the Star Wars
very possible. But
reference.
I remember being surprised because my boyfriend's obsessed with Star Wars. So I was like, oh, okay, check it out. Shader, Star Wars connection. Anyways.
So should we slowly say goodbye? I'm just thinking about Eliza.
I have to
Are
run
you
in
good?
a train, but I don't want to cut it short.
I'm good. What else do we want to do? I could show just a couple more books.
Oh yeah, more
You
books.
can.
We love a
Yeah.
book haul.
Yeah. But you let us know when it's time, Eliza, okay?
Yes.
Computer and Coast. Oh, that one is German.
Yep. And
Isn't
it is
it
all
like
German, so
I was gonna
I
ask,
wanted to buy that one too, but
do
then I
you
was like, I
read
won't understand
German?
anything.
I can't read German. I wish I
think
could.
he bought it for the pictures.
Am
I right?
I did go to Berlin once 14 years ago for work, and
Okay.
I'm half German, and I was like, I'm gonna study and I'm
Oh,
gonna
okay,
speak
you're
German.
half German.
Hard language to
Yeah.
learn.
I tried. Every time I tried, people were like, dude, just speak English. We speak English.
But you have to go not into Berlin. You have to go
Yeah,
somewhere else. You
I
have to
was
go to,
gonna
like,
say,
I don't
yeah.
know, the
Even
north
if
or
you come
something.
to the city where I live in Hamburg, they don't speak much English, so. And I've lived in 3 different German cities, and I speak German because I never like live in Berlin, so I was forced to learn, like especially like I live in very small cities where like you go out shopping and they literally don't speak anything but German, so you're like stuck. So you have to like learn. So yeah, you have to come
I
back
dated
again.
a German guy once, and I bought one of those illustrated dictionaries, convincing myself that I could learn like a small child, and where I'm just gonna learn the words, forget the grammar. I'll just point at things and I'll know what they mean. And
Yeah.
it actually worked for a while. But then, then I stopped learning German.
Yeah, every time I tried, I kind of embarrassed myself, so I just.
Very complicated. All of the it's the.
It is complicated.
I think it's up there with it's like Polish. It's just tricky because they have this extra not tense,
Well,
but like
Polish is also tricky, so I think all of these
it's super
languages
hard
around here. So.
because they have the she, him, and then they have the other thing.
Neutral.
And then there's all of the verb.
Neutrum pronoun.
I much prefer Latin languages. Latin languages.
Yeah, we have it easier. So, and in English you have it even easier, I would say, because English is even easier than I feel like Spanish. So.
I thought it was supposed to be hard.
Or French.
I think if you're learning English as a second language, it's tricky. My mom's an English teacher, and she was explaining to me, because like in English Canada, you don't ever learn grammar. You just speak, and then you start to learn to write, and you learn to write by making mistakes. There's no like grammar structural classes, whereas in French, they're like, oh, you need to know the complement of the direct object of the verb of the blah, 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 blah. And so, and now I'm learning Spanish.
That's what I'm thinking,
B1.
because in Spanish it's the same.
And it's so hard.
You have as well the construction of things, and which in English, like you have present, future, and past kind of. That's it. Like in Spanish and French, I think you have this special.
Future compose.
And in Spanish we have this like
composé,
two different futures, two different past, two different like present tenses.
So, it's a lot. So. But it's a lot. But languages are fun. I don't know. Anyways, that was. Tu parles français! Wow, well done.
Do you speak more languages,
trying to think of another
Justin?
sentence.
What's that?
Do you speak like other languages?
No, not really. I took a lot of Spanish in school, but I'd like to relearn. And anytime I go someplace, I'd like to try to, I learn some of the basics just so I can not be totally un-American.
Totally, same. I don't like to not speak anything. Do you?
But then I get in trouble because you say something and then people start speaking to you in the language, and then you have to explain that you don't actually know anything. So when I was in when I was in Paris for my 30th birthday,
Oh.
my crowning achievement was a French couple asked me where the Eiffel Tower was, and I told them.
In
And
French?
I didn't quite. I kind of just pointed, but I knew what they asked.
Yeah, you understood it.
Like,
Hey, man,
like,
if you
cool,
can make yourself communicate, if you can communicate and make yourself understood and understand, then to me, you're winning.
And if you look enough like a local to where you're going to get asked where something is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That also.
Cool.
Okay. I need to go and take my train.
Cool.
Sorry to cut this short. But
Enjoy.
there's one really like quick last question in the chat. Do we all mostly work in fragment shader code? No. In my professional life, no. But if I'm coding shaders, yes, generally fragment shaders are what I do. How about you?
Same.
I guess if and when we're writing shaders, mostly fragment,
Yeah.
sometimes in the vertex shader.
Oh yeah.
And never for me in the other fancier types of shaders.
Computer.
I started dabbling in
shaders.
compute. It was the compute shader part of compute shaders is easy, but then putting logic into a compute shader is super complicated. I find, just because you have to know where to send all the things, and then there's kernels. But yeah, save that one for another day.
I've never even tried, so I'm always just checking fragment shader as well. So.
I mean, I don't think you need a compute shaders unless you're really, really, really doing heavy things, or you like particles, which you do sometimes, Justin. Actually, so I feel like you would like a compute shade.
Done some GPU shaders, which is not quite a compute shader. I think a compute shader is like the better alternative for the GPU techniques. That's my perception.
I thought that GPU was a compute for web.
I think, as far as I've used that term, I think I've always thought of it as just like using textures as data storage rather than graphical purposes. So like just storing for floats in a pixel.
Got it.
Or whatever you're doing, whether it's a simulation step or like passing data to a vertex shader.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, now I just understood okay. My boyfriend does that. We've always been like, we use shaders in such different ways. Like, I don't get it. And he's like, yeah, same. And then thank you. You've just made it very clear. He does GPU. Cool.
I could be using the wrong.
No, you're totally right. Because he's using, I mean, if it's the texture stuff, then totally. He puts everything in a texture and somehow it all works. I get very confused by it.
Yeah. Or like multiple textures and you're passing those around. It gets very confusing.
It's super impressive, though, to see it all work. Yeah.
Seems like there's a better way, like maybe using a compute shader. But you're going to an artist residency?
I am, yes. I'm going to Brest, doing some shaders for some visuals that are reacting live to the audio. I'm very excited, but I can't say more about it until it premieres in February. So yeah, it's fun.
Oh, until February? Well, hope that you put something on Instagram for us to see.
Of course.
To take a little pic.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Justin.
Thank you.
Especially
thank you
so early
much.
in the day.
Yeah.
It was very nice to spend the morning / our afternoon with you.
This worked out great. It's so nice to chat with you both.
And thank you for showing us this lovely shader. I'm going to be playing around with this whole layering and patterning, I think. I'm very excited.
It was lovely to meet you virtually and get to know your process and a little bit of, how your background
Let's do it again sometime.
Yes, please. Oh, welcome back anytime.
Yes.
Definitely. Okay.
You're welcome to come again.
Thanks everybody for joining.
Yeah, thank you everyone in the chat for hanging out with us.
Thank you everybody. Thanks for being here early or late, wherever you are in the world. See you next. I'm gonna stop the stream.
Next stream yet to be decided. Keep your eyes peeled on Instagram.
Yeah, we don't know
Probably
yet.
Next year, I think. Do we have one for December? I can't remember.
I don't know.
Maybe one before Christmas. I don't know. But definitely next year. Anyways, okay. Bye everybody.
Bye.
See you soon.